screen. Thank you all for having me again. I love this group. It's one of my favorite events. I'm sad I'm not going to be there in May, but I'm happy because I have another grandbaby on the way, and so good trade, good trade.
It is a good trade. Thanks for letting everybody know, because I know they would have asked, "Where's Shari? Where's her session?" So, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Well, today we're doing building your AI adoption strategy in Microsoft 365. And, if you have not started thinking about what you're going to do and how you're going to bring people into your camp in AI and Copilot and all this, it might be a good starting point for you, because I think there's so many resources out there. Microsoft has done an amazing job, but it's almost too much, and it's overwhelming. So I'm hoping to give you a good starting point. And spoiler alert, thanks, Jennifer. That's AI right there too. AI generated. She likes my image. The content that I'm going to share with you today is actually a preview, spoiler alert, of what I'm going to be doing a workshop on in Orlando in April. So, all right. So who am I? They call me Shortcut Shari. It started as a joke and it's stuck, but feel free to reach out to me on the social medias. Just remember my name is spelled Shari. I answer to any spelling, but the internet isn't quite as forgiving. I also did 25 days of SharePoint. It's funny story. Diego also did the same thing. We didn't tell each other, and we didn't read each other's posts in between, because I'm like, I don't want you to influence me, and vice versa. So that was kind of a fun little behind the scenes battle, but I still need to go read some of his. I've only read a couple of them. So if you're interested, SharePoint turned 25 years old. I've been using SharePoint since before it was called SharePoint. So go ahead and read that. Now we're going to do some fun stuff. So I'd like you to go ahead and play along with me, if you would. We are going to, hopefully this will work. I was fighting with it last night, so we'll see if it works. But we're going to do some polls. So I'd love for you to play along in Menti, and hopefully it'll work. All right. So if you know me at all, I always start with what's your problem. As a consultant, often people are, can you make this? Can you build this for me? Michelle, do you have a question?
Yeah, can you go back one more time? I didn't get my phone unhooked fast enough.
There we go.
All right.
Cool.
Thank you.
Sure. So again, if you know me at all, I always start with what's your problem, not what's your problem, like snarky, but often I would build things for my clients, and then, they come back and say, well, that's not, it needs to do this. I'm like, well, okay, I'll fix that. And then, we'd iterate through that a few times, and eventually it's like, no, what are you trying to do? And so we start now from what's your problem. So we're going to go from there for this one. All right. So what's our problem? Many organizations have invested in Microsoft 365 Copilot, but they haven't really got the productivity gains, or they're a little nervous and they don't really want to release it to everybody. They don't have a lot of confidence in it. So if you're not confident, then your employees aren't going to be confident. So how do we make sure that it is a good investment of everybody's time and energy to deploy Copilot and don't make a mess out of it? Kind of like every other new technology, when you start to release something new, people freak out a little bit, or they're resistant to that. So today we're going to cover establishing a people-first strategy. Don't forget, you can turn on all the switches and all the little settings and everything, but that doesn't make people want to use it. So we want to start with a people-first strategy and why that works. We're going to mobilize our champions and executives so that they lead by example. We're going to build a personalized learning journey for each of those people, because, we always, as adults, if you want us to do things, you better tell me what's in it for me, because otherwise it's just a waste of my time or something else I have to add to my plate. And I always tell my husband, there's those 5 love languages. Mine is don't add more things to my plate. And so there's a 6th one in my house. And then track adoption success. So how do we know any of this worked? All right. So we're going to start with the people side of Copilot success and figure out, what is going to make them tick, what's going to make them excited about that. Talk about why the one size doesn't fit anyone. We don't want to, put everybody in the same bucket and expect them to have a good experience. And then uncover the why before the how. Then we're going to spark the champion effect. So how do we get people that are in the trenches with us, in there with everybody that's going to be using these technologies? How do we bring them into our camp? And then we're going to turn those strategies into everyday wins. All right. So that's our journey today. We're going to start here with this. AdCar. Raise your hand. How many of you have ever heard of AdCar? I see one hand. Okay, so good. We're going to dive into that a little bit because that's where we start. Okay, I'm getting a few more hands. Yay. Okay, great. So, understanding adoption. If you want to get a positive change, there's a methodology that we can deploy or use in our plan that's going to help us, and it's proven. So I always go from the ADKAR method. The first thing is awareness. Now, I always kind of go back to the team's deployment over the pandemic because it was a disaster, because it just got lobbed over the fence for survival reasons, really. And teams never really got the stage that it deserved, because they're like, oh yeah, I joke, my husband's like, well, I think I've chatted with people and I think I shared a file. Well, yeah, because you didn't even know what it could do. So helping people understand what is coming and why it's important is the awareness stage. So this is when you're in the pre-contemplation. We're thinking about deploying Copilot. We need to let people know that this might be coming, and kind of, start putting feelers out and figuring out if people are how they're going to react to this. Now, then we have the desire stage. So after we tell them about that, they're thinking about it, they're contemplating about it. How do we make them go, oh yeah, that I want that in my life? And so we're going to build desire by letting them know how that's going to make their life easier, not harder. Then we're going to build their knowledge. So this is preparing for that. This is where all of what I call learning experiences. I really prefer not to use the word training, because I don't want you to just repeat what I do. I want you to incorporate what I'm teaching you. And so in those learning journeys, we're going to build the knowledge that they need to be successful with that technology. And this is called the enablement zone. So from the awareness, desire, and knowledge, this is where we help them feel like they're empowered to be prepared for this technology. Then after we deploy it, they're going to start using it. They're going to start implementing what they've learned. They're going to get excited about it. And this is the action stage. So just about knowing about things doesn't really do anything until you actually put your hands on the tech and start using it. And then finally, we have the reinforcement, which is the maintenance stage. And this, I think, is the one that most people forget about, because if you've ever gone to a class, or, sorry, I've got somebody's unmuted. Thank you.
Yeah, hi, Jennifer. This is Michelle Gilbert. You try to reach me and Andy, and also.
It's Michelle. Thank you. I'm like, busted. All right. So reinforcement stage is where we have the maintenance. Again, this is the stage that most people forget about. They do the training, but how do you make sure that people are using the tech and they understand how you can build on that from there? So the reinforcement to me is letting them know, did you know, and keep bringing them back to those learning journeys, because otherwise they're going to forget. If you've ever gone to a class, the statistic is you might remember 40%. If you don't use it right away, you're going to retain about 20% of any learning experience. So we want to make sure that we keep that learning journey going, and that is considered our engagement zone. So how do we get them excited and working on that? So everything that we're talking about today is going to be based on ADKAR, and how does that fit into that methodology? All right, so this is my favorite thing. One size doesn't fit anyone. And I love all of the resources that Microsoft has provided, but it really doesn't take into account the individual learners that are out there. It's a good starting point. And again, if that's all you have, that's great. If it's all you have the resources for. But really, if you want to make sure that people are going to use the tech, we need to figure out who is your audience. Who are the people that are actually going to use this stuff? And what are their hot buttons? And then we're going to use a tool out there, their Copilot deployment kit. This is kind of the ready to send campaign. If you haven't been able to use Amplify yet, we're going to talk a lot about that here towards the end. And then we do a big focus of this on my workshop. It's a full day workshop where we're going to do this from soup to nuts, and you'll have a deployment plan by the end of the day. So that deployment kit that's out there is great, and it gives you a really good idea, but it's not personalized enough, because not everybody is excited about the same things in their world. All right, so we need to start thinking about who are the people that are going to be using the technology. And the most important question is, this is the question in their mind. What's in it for me? If you want me to use something new, you better be saving me time, saving me frustration, saving me something, because this is a trade-off of time if I'm going to do something different. And I don't know about y'all, but I've worked with everybody on the gamut that, some people are like, I've been doing this for 30 years the same way. I don't ever want to change. Okay, but I can show you a way to do that in half the time or a third of the time or a tenth of the time. Would your ears perk up? Just because you're comfortable there doesn't mean it's going to be helpful to you, especially as so many companies have downsized. There's more on everybody's plate at this point, and we need to give them less to do. All right, so here's your turn. Let's go ahead and let's see if this is going to work. All right. Who is your audience? If you, what I would love you to do is go into the Menti and answer who are the key audiences in your space. Let's see, and I've got 60 responses, but it's not showing your response. There we go. Great. Now, I got HR. Okay, so some of you are pulling in roles and other jobs. So this is something we need to keep in mind. Legal assistants, process owners, right? So what are their hot buttons going to be? I got several HR. You can answer more than once. The IT professionals. It'll give you another minute or so. I like the word cloud because it starts to highlight the common answers. Can you imagine if I tried to do this multiple choice? Because there's no way to encompass every audience that everybody might have. Right. I'm giving you a little bit more time on this one because some of you had to get started with the app there. And I'll just take a drink from my favorite Yeti cup. Notice the icon, shameless plug. Hi, Michelle. Go ahead.
That was me giving you a high five.
Oh, high five. If you watch the AMAs that I do with Christian Buckley and that crew, I'm often drinking from that cup. All right, we got about half of you. Let's go ahead and move on. So it looks like we've got HR and staff are our big audiences there. So as we start identifying these in your organization, you want to keep track of that. And we're going to build on that here in a few minutes. All right, good job, everybody. All right, so now that we've identified who is our audience, what is in it for them? We need to start asking some questions and hopefully start identifying what do they have in common? Are there same business challenges that the different groups have? They may be in completely different groups in the organization, but they may have common business challenges that they need to, we need to use, again, as our hot button. Right. So how do we get them excited about things? We need to discover the why before we tell them how to use things. And if you probably have seen this graphic in some form or another over time, whenever you're implementing a new technology, you have this bell curve of people. You have your innovators, which are your people that are really excited about things and they're jumping at the bit. And sometimes they're even in front of you. And you're like, whoa, 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 slow your roll. We're not there yet. And then you've got the laggards, all the way over to the laggards who are like dragging them, kicking and screaming to do anything different or new. I've been doing that for 30 years and that gets really frustrating. But the majority of people are kind of in the middle. Your early adopters, your early majority, your late majority, those are the people that are like, oh, I'm curious, I'm excited, but you got to convince me a little bit. And the more, how do we convince them to kind of make this more of a lopsided bell curve, kind of front load it here a little bit instead of them kind of floating in the middle? Let's push them up in the process and see if we can get them closer to the innovators. We do this, I do this by calling painting the pain. And this is probably one of my favorite things to do because I used to do what was called the customer immersion experience, and it completely changed the way I do any kind of learning activities. And it's really asking people, what is it in your life that you are frustrated about? What, in your day, oh my gosh, there's got to be an easier way to do this. These are their hot buttons. These are how you're going to figure out how do we incorporate those things into our daily life and make those things easier for them. That's how we're going to win them over from the awareness to the desire stage. Yes, please. I want that in my life, not just because IT said we have to, we're going to start using Copilot, or the management is like, oh, this is the shiny new tool that we want everybody to use. We need to ask them what they're excited about and what would make their life easier. And so if you can paint the pain and fix the pain, they're going to be nudged over into that early adopter stage instead of being over in the laggard stage. All right. I have to say the wrong people to gather those from are from the IT department, the help desk, even the project managers. They think they know. They think they know what those people's hot buttons are, and they're not. This is why these discovery sessions are so important, because IT has an agenda. The IT support desk, they're like, I don't want any more tickets on X, Y, or Z, but it may not be actually what the hot button is for the person that you're trying to bring into the fold. So with these discovery sessions, we sit around, and we're going to do one of these in the workshop. We're going to teach you how to do them. It's going to be a fun, interactive activity. Yes, we're getting out sticky notes, and we're going to get out Sharpies. We're going to use whiteboards, and we're going to start figuring out, what are the things that people are frustrated for that we can fix for them. And when you bring people into these strategy sessions or discovery sessions, they feel invested in the process. They feel like they're heard. So don't just shove things down their throat or expect that you know what they want or they need. Ask them. And then these are the people that are going to give you, as someone in finance, I need to be able to create a dashboard, and so that I can present it to the upper management, whatever those things are. You're going to create those scenarios that we are going to use for later. All right. So ask them, make sure they're heard, and then we're going to start using this information here, and I'll show you what that looks like. All right. So thinking of the audiences that you just shared with me, what is a common, pick one of them. I think HR was the one that was the most prominent, but doesn't mean it's there, maybe they have common challenges that other people might use as well or find useful as well. What are some common business challenges that you can incorporate or you can identify for those roles? Scheduling meetings. Isn't that everybody's? Yeah. Reviewing long documents. I was working with a green energy company last year, and they were having to implement new technology and compete with their other people in their space. And they were having to review 450-page technical documents. Now, this is before they announced the agents to be able to go in and scan this document and give me the highlights. I was like, I want to tell you, but I couldn't at the time because it wasn't public knowledge yet. I was like, hold please, give me about another month and then we can talk about that. All right, lack of time, creating SOPs, meeting recaps. I've got not enough time to. Mailbox management, oh my gosh, right? Too many emails to act on. Finding resources. I got about a third of you. Give you another minute or so. Feel free to answer ones or more, or vote up the ones you're like, yes, that one too. Clients is emerging. Right. So about a third of you. All right. Great. All right, some common business challenges. Again, I'm seeing a lot of around scheduling, mailbox management, project execution, summarizing documents. All right, good job. All right, so we're going to tuck those away for future. Now, in the physical room, these are going to be on sticky notes, and we're going to use a whiteboard to figure out, kind of arrange those and figure out who the common audiences are that would meet that challenge. All right. Once we have all of that, we're going to, it helps you identify not only the key things that are going to bring people into the fold, their hot buttons, but there's another key thing that gets identified during those sessions. Right, we're going to take all of those and we're going to put that on a planner board. So if you notice across the top, I have the audiences across the top, and this is just like placeholder, kind of a sample one. And anticipating we're going to have a 6-week communication campaign, and then our challenges are going to be identified. So this is our planning, our communication plan, and how we're going to help build those what I call drip marketing to get them excited about it. We're going to put those in Amplify. But the nice thing about this is you can look at it a different way. You can say, what are those common business challenges? And those challenges, using the labels lets you create in a planner board, lets you identify other aspects that you can start grouping things in. So you're not having to reinvent the wheel for every single week. Maybe we can use some of the same communications across different audiences to work with them. All right, so planner board, awesome. All right, so what is that other key thing that gets identified in those workshops? The champions. You need to know who is going to be in the trenches with you to help not only identify what those common business challenges are, but you're going to see the ones that are leaning more towards the innovators in their space. And that was probably me. My previous life, I was in HR, but everybody knew I was tech forward. If they had a tech question, they didn't ask the help desk. They wouldn't ask me in my department because they're like, Shari knows. And that's kind of where I built my career from and how I got out of HR, because I didn't really enjoy it as much. But the champions are going to be key. Now, I had one client that I worked with. They're like, oh, we already have a champions program. Oh, you do? Okay, great. When I got to know them, they were all the executive assistants. They didn't actually have anybody that they identified to be more tech forward. And honestly, a lot of those executive assistants have been there 25, 30 years and were kind of stuck in their own systems and not excited about tech. So that they're not the right audience. So again, don't just, if they're like, oh, we already have a champions, well, let's evaluate those champions. Maybe we need to take a step back. But where they're going to emerge is in those discovery workshops, because you're going to see who is excited, who's got a lot of ideas, they're scribbling on the notes, and then people will be like, hey, you almost see them gravitating and asking questions towards that unofficial person that knows stuff. Right. Yes, executive assistants can be great champions, but not necessarily for every department, depending on who that person is. I totally agree with you, because they're my gatekeepers for sure, my go-to usually. But in this particular organization, some of them had been pretty entrenched in their in what they were doing for a long time and not really excited about tech. All right. Well, when they don't even know how to, do reply with meeting or something in Outlook, or how to set up a delegate, I'm like, okay, maybe not. All right. So keeping that in mind, we're going to use that, those champions to start identifying who might be the laggards. They're the ones that are also going to be able to tell you who's going to drag their feet. And maybe we focus on those hot buttons first. All right, again, let's do your turn. Oh, there we go. All right, who do you feel are the best audience for your champions? Some of you jumped ahead in the question. That's okay. I like it. About half of you, a little over half. So why would we not want to have the innovators? Anybody want to put in the chat why we don't want to have innovators in there? I know why I prefer to have the early adopters too. Looks like it's a landslide here. Usually the innovators, in my experience, they feel like they got to prove something to you, like they're like they know more than me. And they probably do about many things, but it's like this isn't a competition. We want to be able to work together, and often they're trying to jump too far ahead, and it kind of spooks people. They get a little freaked out because they're like, this guy's like way far above. Yeah. Yep. Stephanie says too forward thinking and more tinkerers. Yep. Too leading edge. Good. Yeah. And they're the testers. They're the ones you throw into the deep end to see what they can break, and which is great. They absolutely have a role, but not as a champion. So early adopters, good job, y'all. All right, so who are your best champions? These are your best champions. The people that are passionate about what they do, they're knowledgeable in their job, and they're known for being that person in the space. They're the natural leaders. People just gravitate toward them as they are in their daily work for what they do. Also willing to support. And this can be part of the challenge. It's like, yeah, people keep asking me all day long these things, it's like, I just have a quick question. It's never a quick question. So, they need to be willing to support, but there also needs to be a balance because they still have a real job to do. And they're encouraging to others. If somebody says, oh, they made me feel stupid, then that's not a good trait, right? We don't want them feeling stupid. So encourage them, let them know, hey, maybe there's a better way to do things. All right. So we're going to take that information and we're going to turn that into everyday wins. So as we start implementing our program, we want to be able to identify those wins because we want to trigger the FOMO. Anybody ever gotten like an email or an announcement and they're like, kudos to so-and-so. It's like, oh, I want a kudo. Well, we need to figure out what those wins are and start socializing them or amplifying them, because this is how we're going to get those people that are dragging their feet. They're like, oh, somebody does a little testimonial of this feature saves me 20 minutes a day, or this feature cut this by 50% or whatever. We start sharing those wins. Somebody's going to get FOMO and they're going to be like, oh, maybe I should go check that out. Yes, you should. All right, so we're going to share the everyday wins. Now, this is where we start to get our hands dirty. We're going to start talking about the tools that are available for us to implement all of these theory, everything in theory, until it goes into real life. So let's talk about some of those. The first one is Viva Amplify. How many of you have used Viva Amplify or heard of Viva Amplify? Getting a whole lot, couple. Okay, so Viva Amplify, and I'm a teller, not a seller. But Viva Amplify is built into the Viva suite, and it's meant for internal marketing. And it's not an all or nothing license. So a lot of people resist using new tools because it costs so much money. But the only person that requires an Amplify license is the person creating the content. The consumers of the content receive that in different channels: Outlook, Teams, Engage, and SharePoint. So, as long as the people have the license for those, they will be able to consume the content that is in Amplify. We also have Viva Engage, which is built in. It used to be called Yammer, but this is our, kind of our socialization tool in Microsoft 365. And again, that's built in. Then we have, yes, even Copilot. So we're going to kind of play with Copilot and see what we can do with that. All right, got about a half hour left, looks like. Yay, I was like, I don't know how much time I'm going to have to do the demo. All right, so I'm going to bring up my my environment here. I thought I cleaned these tabs up. Okay. So you're going to build out, here's the screenshot, if you can see that. Oh. Can you see the planner board? Yes, hopefully. Okay. All right. So planner is where we're going to create our plan. Again, you're going to identify your groups. So we're going to look at our buckets. So these may be, depending, each one of these I've created is a little bit different. So sometimes we create the buckets by audience if there's a few audience, but sometimes it's the work stream. If it's a huge rollout, this might be the phase 1, phase 2, or if you're doing agile, it might be sprint 1, sprint 2. So these may be the sprints, and then we use the labels to identify the audience and the what week the communication is and all of that. So when you create, if you're not familiar with Planner, they're built out of buckets. You add tasks, and the tasks let you add, details like, is it started? What's the start date? What's the due date? If it's repeating or not, and then what bucket it goes into, and then our notes. Now, the other thing about this is the lower right-hand corner, you can type a message and it becomes a threaded conversation about that task. And this under the notes is where we are going to say, this is where I put the details of the communication. This is, we figured out what those hot buttons are from our strategy session, our discovery session. This is going to be what the hot button is. All right, so you can use those, build them out, add attachments if you need to, include a checklist if you have additional tasks underneath that if you want. And use the labels. You have up to 25 different colored labels that you can customize per plan to help you to view those in different ways. So depending on how you create your buckets, then you have the option to group by label, and you have it by due date, or you have it by priority, or you have it by status. So the nice thing about this one is this is a drag and drop option. So in any one of these, let's say I have under priority, maybe this one's important, maybe this one's urgent, maybe go over there. It won't let me drag and drop. It's making a liar out of me. All right. Let's change the priority here. Now that maybe there's one there, maybe it'll let me drag over there. Huh. There it is. There's the shadow. There we go. Right, so you can use the drag and drop features in Planner to decide. But what I like about this is, again, I can start grouping those challenges together. Maybe the same challenge that we are using could be applicable to different audiences, and that's going to help me plan what week potentially that we release that communication and who we release it to. All right, I'm ready to go into Copilot. Guess what? Yes, we're going to use Copilot. So how do I use Copilot when I'm creating my adoption plan? All of that information that came out in the discovery session, I create a summary sheet of each one of I take all those sticky notes and I'm going to put it on a Word document, and who's the audience, what are their hot buttons, what are their business challenges, what was some of the feedback that we got, who's the champion that I think that we identified in that area, in a summary sheet. And I actually attach that to a Copilot chat to ground that. It's like, here's my audience, here's everything we need to know about the audience. And instead of doing that, because of course we just did that on the fly, I didn't have time to create those documents, but let's just use what we know from the polls that we just did with you. So one of the prevalent audiences was human resources, right? So I'm going to say, as an adoption specialist, I need to create, I have a new keyboard on order. I have sticky keys for some reason to create, maybe if I slow down, an adoption plan for Microsoft Copilot. All right, so I'm going to just throw in the audience that we identified. What are some common business challenges for a human resources professional? Now, this is not in lieu of doing the discovery sessions. I'm just doing this to identify some of those things. So let's pretend we gathered this in our discovery session. Right. Talent acquisition, employee onboarding and enablement, employee engagement, All right, so we've got about, still building them. This is why I got out of HR. There's 10. All right, so why does this matter for Copilot adoption? It gives me some ideas. And then what do you want to do with this information? It's like, so we need to create an 8-week adoption plan, including communications. Right, we have somebody else that's on communications, and real world scenarios that can be solved. Oh, dang it. Solved by Microsoft Copilot. Okay, where do you want to go next? Create an 8-week campaign, including business challenge, a possible solution, and usually I have these on the pasteboard, but I was trying to do it on the fly with the stuff that you gave me. Okay, a possible solution for different M365 products. Don't die on me. It's working. There we go. All right, so week 1, kickoff. Copilot for HR, work smarter, not harder. Now, here's the business challenges. Here are the key Copilot scenarios for each one. So now this is the information that I'm going to put in that planner board. This is what we are going to address, what our key scenarios are. Now, it's already, I did this already yesterday, so it's sneaking ahead of what I was going to do, because of course it learned what I did yesterday. All right, so here's our communications. We have an intranet post, a quick tips, and a manager checklist. All right, now I'm going to take this and we're going to use this to create what's called a campaign in Amplify. So if you haven't seen Amplify already, when you go to the to get started, there is a starter campaign. When you land on Amplify, this is your page. Under campaigns, you can create a new one, and they take a little bit to create, so I already did them. But one of them is the Copilot deployment kit. This is the one that I showed you at the beginning of this session. That is the one size doesn't fit all, right? It gives you a good idea. Now, part of it, the campaign, you create a campaign brief. So here's your goals, your objectives, key messages. Here are the publications. So each week you create what equates to a SharePoint page, and you build out that page, and then you can publish that. And then in the end, you get reporting, which after you have released the campaign, it actually does engagement. So why is this different than just building it and sending it out an email? You don't get this. You don't get who clicked on what, which were the links that they used, because we're gonna tease them and lead them to other things. And this is how we're gonna get them to use some of the features that are available to them in Copilot for what they're trying to do. Right? Who clicked the link, average time spent per user, reactions, promotions, how many unique viewers did you have? So if I sent this out to 100 people, how many people actually read this? All right, so this is where we get the key information to know, was this successful or not? So we're going to create a new campaign. I'm going to show you what a page looks like. So this one's in draft mode. And, get ready for Copilot, Microsoft 365. In these pre-created ones, there's some like red text for you to replace if you want to. So this builds exactly like a SharePoint page. I'm just going to click edit so you can see. We've got our title at the top. We've got sections. We can add more sections if you need to, configure the different layouts if you would, whatever that might look like for you. Again, I always kind of tell people, think of this as a newspaper. You don't want text and text and text and text, or a magazine. Break it up, put in images, make it interesting for people. What do we gravitate to? We gravitate towards videos and images. We don't gravitate towards text and links. So make sure that you're making it interactive and exciting for them. All right, so this is what the page looks like. And so then when you've created it, I'm going to save and close it. And then click next. Our option now is we can publish it out to 4 different channels. You can publish it out to Outlook, which sends it to them in email, SharePoint, which creates a SharePoint page, and you have to designate which SharePoint site you want to be posted in. So hopefully this is your center of excellence or your knowledge center or something of that nature that people can find it later. You can also put it in Teams, and you can add it to Engage. Usually Engage is here. Interesting. Why it's not. So that you decide which channels they're going to go to, and then in Outlook, you decide what the subject is going to be, what the to-line is going to be, the CC, the BCC, and then you can send an email out for that, or test email to yourself so you'll see what it'll look like. Again, your SharePoint site, what site do you want it to be put in? It will go into the site pages library of that site, or Teams. Now, why do we publish this in different places? I love to tell this story about my nonprofit client that I had here. I got a 6-month contract, ended up being there for 6 years, and I did give backs for them. Once a month, I would do my little Tuesday lunch and learn. We're going to do OneNote, we're going to do SharePoint, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and I do different things each month. And they would put it out on the website. They would send it out in an email. They would send it out, all these things. And then invariably somebody like, when are you going to do your OneNote one again? That one's great. I'm like, I just did it. How can you not know? Because we need to meet people where they work. And this is what Amplify does differently. If you could imagine having to go into Teams and create that communication, go into SharePoint, create that page, go into Outlook. By the way, I think I'm not a licensing person, but I think it's like $20 for a month for one person to have a license for Amplify. So how much time did I save by being able to put this out in 4 different channels by not having to have, I'll pay the $20, no problem. All right. So this one, when we're done, after you're finished, you click the publish button, publish now. You can schedule it, or you can request approval for that. So if you need to have, internal communications, need to review it, legal needs to review it, or whatever that might be, you can have them review that content. So this is where we can make sure that we're meeting them where they work. We are sending it out in multiple ways, so socializing the content that is here. All right, then we get those statistics about where did they engage with this. We find out for this audience, really, they just go to Teams, or for this audience, they're really more in their inbox, whatever that might be. All right. So we're going to take that information from our adoption plan, from chat, and we're going to create a weekly communication around this option. And I might want to build this out. Like, let's start with week 1. I do it one at a time. Don't try and do them all because it gets really confused and starts hallucinating. Can you tell I've done this once or twice? Oh, come on. Week 1. Build a SharePoint page with 3 articles. Using the business challenge. Oh, dang it. All right. I don't know what's going on with the keyboard. It's like 10 times worse today all of a sudden. Okay. Let's start with week 1. Build a SharePoint I know it's wrong, page with 3 topics based on the business challenges addressed. All right, so that's going to build out the text and the articles. You can say exactly, make it more friendly. You can make it longer, make it shorter, but these are meant to be sections on the page. So something like this, I might take the examples out. Here's topic 1, here's topic 2, here's topic 3. And then a little preview of what they're going to do for next week. And next, I always do this. What's next? I also like to include a prompt of the week and follow-up activities to encourage use of Copilot. There we go. All right, so I'm going to take this and we're going to build the campaign from it. Are you guys excited about this? I know this is new. Yeah, okay, cool. I'm so looking forward to this workshop. It's going to be, I was very excited that they picked this topic. Okay, so now it's going to give me my prompt of the week, follow-up activities, and then I'm going to take this content and build out my Amplify page. So if you want to create I also use the Copilot to create the campaign brief because the typing has been such a frustration. I used to say, create a campaign brief that includes the campaign goals, the campaign objectives, the key messages, and based on that summary Word document that I create that has everything about that audience and what we're looking for. And then this is what I start from, and in Copilot, have them create this, and then I go in and create the publications. So to create a new one, just create new. And they have some templates that you can start from. Let's use, again, this again is just a SharePoint page. So I usually create a new section for each topic at the end. And then the page templates, you can save them. So this is the layout that I want to have for each one of them. Usually it asks me for which template I want it to do, but it didn't this time for some reason. Okay. So build out your publication based on the topics and everything that we created. Then at the end of it, when you're all done, you get the opportunity to go back and review what it was that really hit the mark. And this is what a dashboard looks like for a campaign, a sample campaign. So how many people engaged, how many users did you have? Now, again, this is going to depend on it's per campaign, not a roll-up view of everything. The channel that they engaged with was Outlook, SharePoint, Teams, Engage, and of course Connections is in there as well. And how many, with the response rate, did people give you feedback, yes or no? Did they like it? Did they respond? And then, who are the people that you invited into the campaign, and the different questions. So if you ask any questions, you can include surveys, anything that provides engagement. Did you find this helpful? Yes or no? What are some of the other things that you would like to know? And that's how we build that's that reinforcement piece when we get done. So this, for the ad car stage, oops, now my mouse is acting up. Okay. For the ad car stage, we are into this is the desire part. This is where we're trying to get them to understand what they're going to learn, what time they're going to save, how we're going to make things easier for them. From that, we can find out using those surveys and engagement, what else do they need to know? Do you want to know more about this topic? Were you excited about it? Well, that's where we plan our learning experiences for them. So we're going to build their knowledge and then give them follow-up activities so that they can practice the ability, and then from the feedback, what they learned. Maybe this is where the ongoing things, maybe instead of it being a weekly campaign, we do once a month, we send out something that is relative to that job or that role or whatever, or whatever new came out, new announcements that came out, and encourage them to go back to those. Now I have a video learning portal that I used for that reinforcement. So their drip marketing campaigns, their adoption campaigns, it takes them back to 2 to 3 minute videos and reinforces that. And again, use that at all stages of this for my clients. But all right, I'm getting close to time, so I want to make sure April has her time, because I'm excited to actually get to watch April. Usually we're competing with each other at events. I don't get to see her stuff. So if you're interested, feel free to go out to Microsoft 365 Community Conference. I'm a shameless plug. I'm so excited to be there again this year. And my workshop's on the first day. So if you want to get there early, I'm kind of excited about being the first day instead of on the other end where people are already tired and ready to go to Disney for the day. So we'll see what happens. All right. Don't forget, bring your laptops. If you come to the workshop, we're going to get our hands dirty. You're going to get to play. It's not just, theory. We're going to work with the tools. We're going to show you how to use Amplify, show you how to use Copilot, show you how to use Planner, all of those live. All right. And if you want a discount, it's Oswald 150 for a $150 discount if you're interested. All right. Happy to answer any questions.
Awesome. Great job, Shari.
Thank you. If my keyboard would cooperate. I don't know what's going on with it. I ordered a new one. It's supposed to come in today, but I was hoping it would be there already. But
oh, I think many of us have been there. I've been there right in the start of a session where the keyboard just stopped working. So these things happen.
I had a wireless one that stopped working, so I go wired now, and I was so mad at it when I got the new one. I wasn't even mad at the time. I broke it over my knee, and the keyboard keys flew everywhere, and my son was in there. He's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, it just felt really good to do that." And for like months, I was finding the keys. I'm like, B key, D key. Yeah, too funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You can play Scrabble with it.
There you go. Exactly. It's like, now we can spell. Too funny. All right. Any questions, comments, favorite things? Because I would love to incorporate your feedback into the workshop that we're going. So what were some of your favorite things?
Yeah, for me, I think, I just because I'm on camera, it doesn't mean anybody else can't mention. And certainly we have our survey, so we'll make sure you get that feedback before your event so you can incorporate, people's thoughts. But to me, I don't know if we talk about ADCAR enough. I think that is a huge part of the change enablement teams and going through the process of getting their organizations ready to deploy. So I appreciated that. I've got the ADCAR book actually right behind me in my office. And, you can apply that to personal life. You can apply that to anything you're rolling out. So I love it.
Awesome. Yeah, and Leanne McManus is the one that introduced me to ADCAR. I'm like, oh, this makes so much sense. Why are we using this? Great. Methodology is always good. Give me a roadmap.
Yep.
So much easier.
So much easier.
All right. Well, I'll be here. Happy if you put things in chat. Great. But I want to hand it over to April because I know her content's going to be amazing. And I'm going to sit back with my hot beverage and enjoy her topic. So thank you so much again for having me, all. And look forward to seeing you in person soon.
Right. Sounds great. Thank you so much, Shari. Love having you. Yeah, and we'll be probably bringing you back again soon this year. So thank you.